Hello and good morning. Welcome to Century Business Technology's Cybersecurity webinar series. On behalf of myself and Century Business Technologies, we want to thank everyone for joining us today. My name is Will Blankenship, and I am the Senior Managed IT Services Account Executive with Century. From network discovery sessions to installations, I work with clients and potential clients to help evaluate what they have, what they may need, and assist with planning for the future. It could be as simple as a computer purchase, a new server migration, or as complex as a cybersecurity audit. I want to give you an idea of what to expect today. First, we are going to try hard and keep this under 40 minutes. Our goal today is to cover general terminology used with cybersecurity as it pertains to business best practices. We will be moving quickly through the content that includes a little bit of a lot of topics, including the SLAM method for identifying phishing emails, malware, the dark web, password authentication, and much more. Now, before we start, we want everyone to know how to get their certificate of completion after this presentation. There are two ways to get to the easy quiz of this material. You can download our Encore training app through the Apple Store or Google Play, or you can go to the web address app.encorebycentury.com. You will need to use the email address that you used to attend here, and the password is centuryks0125#. These details will be added to the chat session, and we'll cover it again before we are done. Let us know through the chat feature if you need any help, as well as any time during the presentation. If you have questions, feel free to interact with us at any point. We'll be moving very quickly and may hold some questions until the end or answer questions directly through chat. And with that out of the way, today we hear about cyber scams, breaches, and attacks in the news more and more. It's interesting to see the trends. Statistics show that small businesses with under 100 employees are just as vulnerable as the big newsmakers. You can see there is a misconception that a lot of companies think they are not targets. It's simply not true. We've seen reports of well-established small to medium-sized businesses who fell victim to a breach or malware attack where we find out that they weren't prepared because of some small, relatively basic weakness had been exploited that was completely preventable. And the surprising fact is that these companies have an IT department. Employees are any business's greatest asset, but they are also targets for cyber criminals. It is very important that you, your employees or coworkers, basically everyone within the organization should learn some cybersecurity fundamentals. This is why we're here today. We thought what better way to do this than share the same training resources that we get here at Century Business Technologies. We will be using the PII Protect training module from Breach Secure Now. It has several entertaining videos to keep your attention while you learn about cybersecurity. We'll be centering around the dark web, malware, phishing, passwords and authentication. But for the sake of time, we're going to skip the dramatizations and focus on the summaries, which go over the same information more succinctly. Now, let's switch over to our videos.
Hi, thanks for pressing the help button. I'm Allie, here to assist. You are watching our dark web shopping channel, where cyber criminals go to buy and sell goods, services, or information that they may not have been able to obtain another way. Although this was only a dramatization, the dark web is a real place where breached data is available for sale in an online marketplace. When a breach occurs and information is exposed, it is generally collected, cleaned up, then put up for sale on these dark web forums. Other cyber criminals can purchase this information by means of cryptocurrency. Then they can use the information for anything they choose. They may try your exposed email address and password on your accounts to gain access. They could design a clever phishing email based on the details of your breach to try and get you to click a malicious link, Or they could use your exposed phone number to social engineer their way into having you divulge more additional sensitive information. Either way, having your information exposed on the dark web is never a good thing. Luckily, there are good Samaritans on the dark web who are helping to mitigate some of the damages from these exposures. Check with your supervisor or IT to see if they are monitoring your email address on the dark web. It's important to take each exposure seriously, no matter what site it was, how much information was exposed, or how long ago the breach occurred. Now that we are talking about data and information on the dark web, it might be a good time to learn a bit more of what you are protecting and why. Try turning to channel 80.
A long, long time ago.
I love that song. As you just heard, we are all tasked with protecting the data that we work with daily. It can have many terms, but we mainly use personally identifiable information, or PII for short. This type of sensitive information could be in the form of a name, date of birth, government identification numbers, financial information, passwords, physical addresses, email addresses, and more. And this sensitive information could be relating to a company or an individual. Ultimately, sensitive information is that which could be damaging to an individual or an organization if it fell into the wrong hands. Although sometimes this information might not seem like much, to a cyber criminal, it can be a gold mine. With just a few simple details, a cyber criminal could accomplish identity theft, blackmail, or could have instant access to bank accounts or company databases. To protect this data, you need to know where it's located. Chances are you come into contact with multiple repositories of PII and sensitive data on a daily basis at work. It could be in a customer relationship management system and other cloud applications you log into, email, documents, and files such as Word, PDF, and Excel, or even paper-based reports and printed materials. Even after a device is no longer working, it could still be storing this sensitive information, so it's important that you dispose of these devices properly. Make sure you follow your organization's procedure for disposing of equipment, which typically will include purging all information from the device or the physical destruction of the hard drive. This includes all the devices you are using at work, but also any personal devices that may be used for work purposes like your smartphone or laptop. Okay, now that you've learned a little about what you're protecting and why don't you try flipping to some other channels so we can help beef up your cybersecurity knowledge? Hey, it's me again. There's no doubt you've at least heard of phishing by now, and most of us have experienced a phishing attempt at least once. But if you're like me, this seems to be an everyday occurrence where at least one phishing attempt ends up in my inbox. Some of these phishing emails can be easy to spot, but others are targeted directly at you and are more well crafted with some of your own personal information. This is referred to as spear phishing. In addition to spear phishing, be on the lookout for what we refer to as business email compromise scams, or BEC scams for short. These types of phishing emails are designed to look like they're coming from someone you know or trust, typically your supervisor or coworker. There are two ways this could happen. The first way is that a scammer could either create a fake email address to make it look like it's coming from any account they want. We call this spoofing. An example would be if your supervisor's email address was rosie@company.com and the scammer created a similar email address, rose@company.com. Many of us might not pick up on the subtle difference with this missing letter and think we are conversing with our true supervisor. Scammers can also hijack real email accounts to trick victims into a BEC scam. They might get access with credentials they found on the dark web or that they tricked their victim out of in a previous scam. Phishing, spear phishing, and BEC scams can be difficult to spot, but remember some of the key lessons. Follow the SLAM method to verify an email's legitimacy. Here's a breakdown of what the SLAM method stands for. S, sender. Look at who is sending the message. Is it someone you know and are expecting communication from? Check the email address closely for possible misspellings or additional characters. L, links. Hover over any links without clicking on them to see their true path. Be exceptionally cautious of clicking links in email conversations that you did not initiate or are not expecting. A, attachments. Never open an attachment unless you are confident it is safe. Just like with links, be skeptical if you are not expecting this file to be sent to you and if you did not request it. M, message. Look at the content of the message for anything that seems off. This could be misspelled words, generic greetings, or action items requesting you to act now. Keep the SLAM method in mind whenever you get a suspicious email. In fact, it's good practice to use the SLAM method for every email. And if you do think a message is a phishing email or just aren't sure, here are some additional tips. 1. Do not respond back to the message. This could let the scammer know that your account is active and being monitored and give them a chance to further their efforts to trick you in a follow-up message. Try calling the individual directly with a known phone number or walking to the sender's desk or office if it was from a coworker. 2. Notify IT and your supervisor. There is a good chance that if you receive this message, other colleagues within your organization may receive the same message. And if one team member falters, we all may pay the price. 3. If it is malicious, get rid of it. If IT determines the message is a phishing scam, deleting it or moving it to a phishing folder can help eliminate the chance of you accidentally clicking, opening, or responding to it at a later point. Okay, that's enough about phishing. Why don't you jump to the next channel? I think the Cyber News Network might be informative. As our news report covered, ransomware is a huge risk to all businesses, including this hospital where operations are nearly halted. It can spread between connected devices on a network and will encrypt the files to get access to, allowing the cyber criminals to demand a ransom to unlock the files. It can happen at home or at work, but there are some important takeaways that should be stressed. 1. Back up your data. Work with your supervisor and IT to ensure that all of the devices you use are being properly backed up, or if there are additional actions you should be taking to save important data and files in a secure location. For your personal devices, follow a similar approach and back up your personal files to a secure location, such as an external hard drive or cloud solution. 2. Watch for social engineering attempts. Phishing, phone scams, and even in-person scams can all be methods for delivering ransomware, so use your knowledge to watch for those attacks. 3. Speak up. Josh's report highlighted that the damage could have been far less if the individual at fault had informed their supervisor sooner. It's never fun to have that discussion, but it's the right thing to do. Okay, all set with ransomware, keep flipping to some of the other channels to learn more. Now that sounds like an interesting read. As the author describes, it can be challenging to create and maintain all those passwords, but they really are so critical to our data security, both for our work accounts and our own personal information too. Let's recap some important takeaways about passwords. 1. Never reuse passwords across multiple accounts. Doing this can leave you vulnerable. If one password is exposed or compromised, the cyber criminal could use that password to target other accounts of yours as well. 2. Consider a password manager. We know that creating these unique passwords across all sites can be a monumental challenge, but a password manager can help. A password manager is a tool that does the work of creating strong and unique passwords for all your accounts. You only need to remember one strong password and it will do the rest. Talk with IT as they may have tools that can help you. 3. Enable two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. This additional setting requires a second form of authentication to access an account beyond the initial password. 4. Focus on a passphrase. If you are going to set your own passwords, make sure they are effective. Passphrases are generally easier to remember, but allow you to use more characters, which increases overall complexity. 5. Update passwords. If you do discover that your account information was found on the dark web or compromised in a breach, it is important to change your password for that account and any other accounts where a similar password was used. Take steps towards improving your password security. Failing to do so could put company data or your own personal data at risk. Looks like our session is coming to an end, but before I go, let's wrap things up. Cybersecurity threats are all around us. Whether it's the dangers of our data being found on the dark web, constant threats from phishing emails and other scams, the damaging effects of ransomware, and more, it can feel like an uphill battle to keep data safe. Although these threats are prevalent, you can protect yourself and your company from an incident by following what you've learned to spot phishing emails with the SLAM method, constructing strong and unique passphrases for all accounts, following company guidelines for backing up data, and other lessons from this class. If a situation does occur where sensitive information may have been inadvertently exposed, or you think you've fallen for a scam, it is important to know the steps you should take. First, tell someone as soon as possible, generally IT or your supervisor. A mistake that goes unreported has more time to do more damage and could spread throughout the company, while early reporting could give your team enough time to resolve the issue before a situation gets worse. Make sure you strive to follow the security policies and procedures your company has set up. If you are unsure of what those are, ask your supervisor for more information. Employees are seen by cybercriminals as the weakest link in an organization, so it's important that you take the responsibilities of protecting company PII and sensitive data seriously. But again, don't be afraid to ask for help. Cybersecurity is not an every employee for themselves game. We are all in this fight together.
Great job! You've finished this class. Now you can close the window and take the corresponding training quiz for this class. Once you pass that quiz, you'll receive a training certificate. Good luck!
That's it for training information we wanted to share this morning. We want to thank you for taking time to invest in yourself. If you have any questions concerning business cybersecurity or remote workstations, if you would like to have a dark web scan done with your organization, want to know how inexpensive multi-factor authentication can be, cloud backup solutions, or anything else mentioned, please look to Sentry for answers, solutions, and services. Okay, now it's time to check what you know. Trust us, everyone will pass this quiz. As mentioned before, there are two ways to get to the easy quiz of this material. You can download our Encore training app through the Apple Store or Google Play, or you can go to the web address app.encorebycentury.com. Use the email address that you use to attend here as your username, and the password is CentryKS0125#. Thank you all, and have a great day.